So as you know, if you have any questions, you're welcome to speak your question or write your question in the chat box. So in the contemplation of the self, at some point, it is an inward looking. And as we look inwardly, we start to realize that our entire experience is, one could say, an inward experience. That we're experiencing the world as our inward perceptions. Is anybody else experiencing no sound? I see Isaac saying there is no sound. Okay. Sound is good.
Sound, Mandy.
Yes, yes. So Isaac, I think you need to sort of mess around with your settings and see if. So it's a local issue, Isaac. Try to see, go to your setting and check your sound setting and see if there is maybe somehow something is muted. I don't know. So as we engage in the contemplation, we realize that we're experiencing the world as our perceptions. And we're experiencing the mind as intimate thoughts and intimate images. And we are experiencing the body as intimate sensations, intimate bodily feelings and sensations. And when we look deeper at the substance of our perceptions, of our thoughts and our sensations, we come to the realization that our actual experience is an experience of awareness. And that this awareness is peace. And is what I truly am. And in this understanding, there is a relaxation of the tendency to argue internally. There is a quieting of the tendency to pursue thoughts about myself and others. It's as if the fuel that was animating these arguments, that was animating these resistances, these tendencies to blame and argue and aggrandize myself, and demonize the other, which is all an internal weather of sort. This fuel, the fuel that was animating these tendencies, runs out, is running out. And the interest is no longer there. The interest to argue, to project a tomorrow, to project images, so-called me, in some imagined tomorrow, in some imagined time and space. And the contractions within the body become more and more transparent to us. We're no longer interested in this inner state of contraction. When we start to contemplate the relaxation that is completely independent, that place of well-being that is completely independent, that is not affected by thoughts and sensations. In time, there is a trust that develops within oneself, trust in the Dharma, a trust in the teaching, a trust in the scriptures. That encourages to the stillness, that encourages to recognize consciousness that is non-phenomenal, that is what we truly are, that is the reality of our experience, that is not affected by fire, it's not affected by floods, it's not affected by earthquakes. The tendency to go back to the mental state that originates in the belief that I am some body mind. That dynamic, that energetics also becomes transparent and is no longer our experience. It's sort of a shift from thoughts defining us to consciousness. So I welcome whatever questions you may have.
Magdi?
Yes, hello, Esther.
Hi. You know, I enjoy listening to others tell a well-told story. And lately, as I engage in that, listen or watch or in a book, I'm just very aware of how it's kind of like you were just describing, that it's no different than being in the rest of the waking dream and encountering those stories from others, just as I would other perceptions. Could you talk a little bit about that, the role of stories from a conscious perspective?
Mm. Usually when we are, I'm just gonna mute you, oops. I think somehow Esther dropped off. So you can hear the reply on. Yeah, Esther, it looks as if...
I lost you there for a minute.
Oh, yes. I was going to, to mute you because of the echo. Okay. Okay, so Esther, concerning your question about listening to stories, we love stories. I mean, it's entertaining. We go to the theater, we go to the movies, and we watch a play, or we watch a movie. It's a story that is unfolding, and we enjoy that. Now, usually, when you're in interactions within yourself and with others, the stories are about me as a person and you as a person. And within the story, there is the unquestioned certainty that I am this person and you are that person. That is sort of, in a way, first base. And from then on, upon this first base, upon this initial assumption that I am a person and you are another separate person, then the story is weaved. And as a person, and you as another, there is within that separation the seed of ignorance, which sprouts into judgments, into envy, into jealousies, into coveting, into all sorts of negative emotions. And of course, the story that we are weaving, that the mind is weaving, has within it those negative emotions. So in the stories, in general, not always, I am the good guy, the other one is the bad guy. I'm trying to impress to you the great feats that I have accomplished, so you have a much better image from me, and hopefully I'm successful at it, and then I'm happy because you have a positive image of me, and I am quite deceived or disappointed if you do not have a positive image of me. So consciousness is not interested in this type of stories. What consciousness does is roses, begonias, maple trees, the weather, clouds, volcanic eruptions, oceans, potatoes, tomatoes, and the human experience that is pure awareness. It does not do, I love this person more than that person. That is at the mind level. That is at the story level. So if you look closely at stories, Esther, you will find that within the stories, there is the seed of ignorance and the demonstration of ignorance. So if you look at the human history, you will find it is a history of conquests, of exploitation, of wars, of pretty disharmonious way. And the planet, of course, suffers from that. And of course, the human culture, the human society suffers from that. Rather than having a spirit of communion and a spirit of compassion and love and helping each other, the dominant psychology is that of self-aggrandizement, self-success, personal feats. So that's not the way of God. That is not the way of the light. That is not the way of wisdom. The way of wisdom is the way to the revelation of our interconnection. It is the way to the revelation of our intimacy and our wholeness. So that in the world we act with kindness and with love and with empathy towards others. And within our own contemplation, we contemplate our wholeness as consciousness and our complete freedom and peace and well-being as consciousness. So there is in the world we are contemplating our intimacy with everyone and everything. And internally we are contemplating our intimacy with everyone and everything. And that is beyond the stories. So I would say that rather than being interested in stories, I would be given the short time that is available to me in this human form. I would be focusing on the contemplation of truth and leave the stories alone.
Magdi, I'm so glad I asked that question. There's really no such thing. I guess it's a conscious story is an oxymoron, isn't it?
Consciousness is conscious, only consciousness is conscious. There is no such thing as a conscious story. There is such a thing as conscious consciousness, because the quality of consciousness, which we call conscious, belongs to consciousness, doesn't belong to thought. Stories are thoughts, images. So yes, it is an oxymoron to speak of a conscious story. Only the self is conscious.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Okay, Esther.
Hi, Magdi.
Hello, Anne, and hello, whoever
Ana
else.
Cristina.
Anna Christina. Okay, so hello.
Hello, I don't mind if...
Well, I have a very short question. It's
Okay,
about,
Anna Christina, yes.
I am a writer, so I write stories.
Yes.
How can I write stories from consciousness? Is that possible? Because I find, for example, that in my novels, there is one novel that I wrote while I was working with the shamans of Castaneda. And they told me, just let infinity pour into your novel. And it's the novel that I like best of my work because I didn't write it myself. Something wrote it through me.
Mm-hmm.
But then I left that group and I was never able to do that again.
Mm-hmm.
And now I am writing another novel and I don't know how to let go and let what I did with that novel, to let go and to let something go through me and write the novel, because I'm no longer working with that kind of people. But should I tell consciousness I want it to come and guide it? That's my question.
Mm-hmm.
Because I don't just want to write stories, the banal stories everyone writes.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I want to write something else.
Yes. So yes, you can ask consciousness to guide you. Yes, you could say, okay, I'm open, I'm available for the higher, for the pure, for the source to sort of flow through me and flow through this pen, through these hands, through this body mind. Yes, you could do that. But also, as you are contemplating the self, meaning you are contemplating yourself,
Yeah.
within this contemplation, as a result of this contemplation, there are certain insights, certain understandings that come to you.
Mm.
And they have to do with a self-recognition, meaning recognizing yourself, recognizing awareness, recognizing consciousness, recognizing that is not trying to feed itself as a person, that is not trying to, is not focused on me, the person, that is looking at what is it that is real.
Mm.
And also within your contemplation, you are gaining some understanding about certain harmonious way of living and certain disharmonious or non-harmonious ways of living,
Yeah.
of perceiving, of thinking, of perceiving oneself. And that can somehow be, certain parts of that can be shared
Mm-hmm.
in the
Yeah.
in the characters, that
Yeah.
their interactions, their conversation with themselves, their inner conversations, their conversation with others, their hidden thoughts, and their doubts, their inner conflict. So that the reader isn't just interested into what's next, you know, what did he do, what should she do, but also is getting fascinated and interested by this, the dynamics that are occurring within oneself, because there is a recognition as a reader of dynamics within myself, the reader.
Yeah.
So the characters and what the characters are doing and what they're contemplating, and the questions they're posing themselves and they're posing each other, and the behaviors they're doing, and the questions that they have, if any, about their behaviors, all of in a novel, there is the possibility of also touching that topic.
Yeah. Exploring.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And so the characters, as the characters have a certain degree of inner contemplation or inner exploration or inner questioning,
Yeah.
the reader will also be experiencing in their own way that quality.
Yeah. That's a very good idea. That's a very good idea. Yeah. Yeah. That's great. That's great. That's a great insight. It really helps me.
Okay, I'm glad. Yes.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Okay, Anna Christina.
Yeah. Now let Anne, because I feel very bad that because I overstepped.
No, that there's room for everyone.
Thank you.
Yes.
That's fine, thank you.
Yes.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask you something that I'm seeing, and just to check if it's correct or not, is the separate self, the me, the small me or small self, the person, the personal persona, let's say, is it just another appearance in the dream? If that makes sense, is it if everything I'm seeing is not who I am, well, it is who I am and not who I am in a way, but it's a whole. The dream is a whole, and the person is also perceived within that whole. So it's just another appearance in the whole, but it's not who I am. As consciousness is then containing that whole thing. The whole dream is contained within consciousness. But me as a person is a dream in that whole. Me as a person is perceived. It's
Okay. So, and you want to just...
It's real and unreal in a sense. Yeah, that's it.
Okay. Okay.
I think I've described it. It's very difficult for me to describe what I'm seeing.
It's pretty clear.
Okay.
It's good. So, what's important to understand, Anne, is that consciousness is not a dream. Yes? Is not something that appears and disappears.
No, I understand that, yeah.
It's not something that you perceive and now you perceive it more clearly and now you perceive it less clearly. It's important to understand that a thought or an image or a bodily sensation can appear and disappear, can be sharp or can be faint, can be lengthy or can be very brief. That the phenomenal qualities apply to what is perceived, but do not apply to consciousness, the perceiver in chief.
That's constant.
Yes, eternal. So, in terms of the person, the personal self, the personal self is an identification. It's a me. It's I am a person. I am a character, let's say. And there is a story. The story of my life, the story of my family's life, the story of my culture, the story of my society, etc. My story. There is a story. There is a dream character, the primary dream character, which is me. And the secondary dream characters or secondary characters, my parents, my friends, my partners, etc., my roommates, my coworkers, the grocer down the market, etc. And there is the dream setting. There is a setting. There is the town, maybe it's the city, maybe in New Delhi, or is it Cairo or New York or whatever. And there are perceptions. Now, all what appears, we experience it as thoughts, perceptions, and sensations. So the character, the me, the person, we experience the person as thought, images, as bodily sensations, and as perceptions. We perceive the hands, the legs, the body. We perceive an image in the mirror. And also, we experience the personal self as a sense of me. There is a sense of me. It's there. It's hard to point your finger at it, but you ask anybody down the street, who are you? It's me, you know. There's a sense of me that's also part of the sense of personal self and the personal self experience, which is thoughts, sensations, perceptions, and a sense of personal self. All of these appear to you intermittently. In other words, you do not have the same constant image of yourself across all your experiences. The image that you have of yourself changes. For example, you may have an image at 10:04 this morning, and maybe at 10:09 you're having a different image, a different thought, a different sensations. An image that you have of yourself 2 weeks ago, an image you have of yourself now, maybe different images. And when you try to really pin down the image, it's really, really hard to pin it down. Van Gogh tried to a self-portrait, and many painters try a self-portrait, and it's pretty interesting to see what the painting is like. Wow, what is that? And again, it's just a different point in time. They may be painting a completely different self-image. But the point that I wanted to make is that our experience of the personal self is intermittent. It's not constant. It seems to be constant, but it's intermittent. It's image, thought, image, thought, sensations.
Yes.
And the me sense is sort of, in the background, we don't notice it until somebody tells us that we're stupid, and then, what do you mean I'm stupid? You're stupid, etc. And in deep sleep, this entire scenario of the personal self is dimmed down, like almost to zero. It's like really, really, you don't have an experience that you could recall at all of any image or thoughts or bodily sensations or sense of me. So what is whole, what is complete, what is non-dual is consciousness. And when sometimes when we hear that, we say, well, then the mind is dualistic. In fact, when you look at the mind, you don't find a mind. You find a current thought. When you look at the thought, in this moment, for example, the thought that I am a man, which is a thought, because in the absence of the thought I am a man, I could not tell you that I'm a man. So the thought arises, I'm a man. And so, of course, I believe it, or I recite it. I read it to you. I say, hey, yeah, I'm a man. Now, when that thought arises, that thought is completely intimate with myself. Although the thought says, I am a specific body, mind, separate from blah, 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 that thought is experienced in this very moment as complete intimacy with consciousness.
Yeah.
Our experience is the experience of complete intimacy.
Mm.
It's just, it is so. It just is so. But it is overlooked.
Mm.
We overlook that our experience is non-dual. We overlook that our experience is whole, is complete, there is nothing outside of ourselves, there is nothing lacking, nothing coming at us. We overlook that. We overlook the wholeness and the intimacy and the non-dual quality of our experience. And we are mesmerized by what happens next to this character. What's going to happen to this character tomorrow? Will he or will he not? Will she or will she not get what she wants?
Yeah, it's all me.
Yes. So this is the hypnotism.
Yeah.
The hypnotism is the hypnotism of the arising. There is an arising, referred to as Maya. There is an arising of an impression of a self outside of the self.
So what it seems like here is that something has taken a step back and is seen the appearance as a whole thing.
Yes.
Yeah, it's not.
Yes, it is whole.
It's whole. It's a whole thing
and
contained by consciousness.
the whole
Therefore,
thing,
it's not separate.
the whole thing, yes, is contained by consciousness, but the whole thing is the wholeness of consciousness.
Yeah.
What you refer to as the whole thing that is contained within consciousness
Is consciousness.
Is consciousness. It's like in your night dream. In your night dream, let's say you're dreaming of a dog running in the field, and there are ducks flying by over the pond. So you're dreaming of all of that, and you say, well, all this is contained within consciousness and is whole within consciousness. In fact, the dog, the prairie, the lake, and the ducks, all of them are not separate from you, the dreamer. They're completely 100% intimate with you, the dreamer. So the wholeness is the wholeness of the dreamer. It's not the wholeness of the duck, or the wholeness of the field, or the wholeness of the field and the duck and the dog and the lake. It's actually the wholeness of consciousness.
And
So
what I'm finding quite a relief is that when I see it like that, I can't identify with that character I call me in my dream. There's a character in my dream, this that I'm looking at now.
Yes.
This body, this whole thing is a dream.
Yes.
This is not who I am. This body that I see here is only an appearance.
Yes.
And these thoughts and feelings are only an appearance.
Yes.
And they're not me.
Yes.
They're just playing out a story as such.
Yes.
And it's quite exciting, really.
Yes. Yes.
It's quite a relief.
The you is not something that's appearing. The true self is not the perceptions, the images, the thoughts, the sensations. The true self is invisible, infinite reality of consciousness.
Yeah.
Beyond the phenomenal realm, beyond the mind realm, beyond the domain of the mind. It's the unborn, the unformed, the formless, unnameable
It can't be pinned down to anything. It
No,
can't be
you
captured.
you can only pin down something that is arising.
Yes.
For example, a butterfly, you grab it, you pin it down.
Yeah.
Very
Yeah.
sad, but
Yeah.
it happens.
It's a bit like I'm watching a movie of my life, but no one's watching. Does that make sense?
You're watching a movie
Of life. I'm in it. I'm in the movie, or there's a person calling itself Anne in the movie that thinks it's real, but I'm the maker of the movie because I'm consciousness making that movie.
Yes, you could say that you are dreaming a movie and you are dreaming that you are a person in the movie.
Yeah.
But you can also say that you don't need to dream yourself to be a person in the movie. That dream can end. Why? Because dreaming yourself to be a person in the movie, there is a vulnerability to the person, the vulnerability of the person.
Yes.
So I don't dream myself as a person in the movie.
Yeah, that completely disappears eventually, does it? That
There is no interest anymore in that.
yeah, yeah,
It's gone. The interest is gone.
yeah,
Why would I do that? What for?
yeah,
I am happy as I am.
yeah. But I can't believe it because I always thought that was me. It's
How can you perceive? Yes, I know.
No, it's brilliant. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Good.
So the
Thank you.
the contemplation is like whenever we go back into I am and I am this person, meaning, oh, what's going to happen to me? Where am I going? We go back home. We go back to base. Whenever we are pulled in the identification as a separate character, as a great man, a great woman, or a failure, or whatever, we right then we catch it. Well, it's if we do, okay, it's not like not like a do or die, or you have to succeed or fail, but the process is a process of seeing that arising and recognizing that what I am is not the arising, that I am non-arising. I'm the non-arising. I am the self. I already am. I do not exist via an arising. I already am. I do not need to exist as an arising. I already am.
Yeah, because there's no comparison, because the personal self is so small and irrelevant in comparison to what I am.
Yes, but from the small self perspective, all what matters is the small self. All what matters is me, my story, my life, my home, my car, my partner, my happiness, my blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, definitely,
from that perspective, whenever there is the identification,
when it's real,
then what are you talking about consciousness? Don't bother me. I've got problems to solve. I've got things to do. I may win the lottery tomorrow. Don't spoil. Don't rain on my parade.
Well, I'm just hoping next time I speak to you, I'm not talking from that perspective. Oh, Magdi, help me! I'm whatever.
Well, we are together in the contemplation. We are together.
Yeah. Great, lovely, nice talking to you. Thank you very much.
Yes, Anne. Yes, thank you for your question. Yes.
Magdi?
Yes. Hello, Zoe?
Hi, yes.
Yes.
Can you
Hello,
hear me
Zoe.
okay?
Yes, I hear you. Yes.
Okay, so a friend had written a question, and I've heard this one before, and I'm just wondering what I was going to sit down and try and contemplate, but since I have you here, when well, this friend was like, well, scientific knowledge says that love is only, a series of chemical interactions within the brain.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's just assuming personhood, right? And how would you approach
Mm.
just, sort of introducing the idea that you're not the body when with somebody who's really, I don't know, strongly believing that um, scientific experiments show that, sensations of love, or it's all just due to chemical interactions and
Mm-hmm. Okay.
things like that. Thanks.
Yeah. So when you're observing the certain, looking at the brain and looking at a certain event in the brain, via the right equipment, the right tools, we notice there is a certain chemical change, and when we say, well, love is this chemical reaction, there are two things that we're saying. First, we're saying that there is a chemical reaction, and also we are saying there is love. So I'm okay with that there is a chemical reaction because it's been observed, documented, and science is in a way, science is very pure. It doesn't have a bias. It's just sharing the facts. So there is a chemical reaction. I say, oh wow, great chemical reaction. Then I ask, well, where is the love? Say, oh, you said there is love. Oh, I say, okay, that's good. I got it. A beautiful reaction. Where is the love? So then the scientist has to show me the love. And what are they going to show me? Because I'm sure they're going to show me something, and I'm available. So I say, okay, well, show it to me. So they're going to then go to this person where they observe the brain of that person, that they observe the chemical reaction, and they say, describe your experience. And so that person will say, I experienced, it was melting, I felt like I'm one, etc. So, and you say, well, that's the love. And I say, great. So now we have moved to the love. So in the love, there is an experience. There is an experience. And the experience of this person, again, I'm speaking theoretically because I have not read the scientific study. So I'm speaking I may be speaking around, but I'll continue anyways. The experience of that person experienced, I would say, a sense of a wholeness, a sense of complete intimacy, a sense of they disappeared, they dissolved. Because in love, when there is love, there isn't two. It's as if two have merged into one. And at that moment of the two merging into one, or the many merging into one, it's as if the mind dissolves. Sometimes we say the mind dissolves in the heart, this expression. But it's as if the mind for a moment is dissolved, and there is just love. We don't just experience love, between humans. We experience love sometimes looking at a sunset, or sometimes we're looking at a butterfly, and we dissolve somehow in the experience. And at that moment we say there's love. And so in that moment the mind is absent. A certain the sense of separation is absent. And that can be recorded in the brain. It has been tested with many Tibetan and other meditators that are expert meditators. They have done also so, and they've noticed that yes, in this there is a certain state of peace and well-being that can be that is recordable in the brain. Actually, many states are recordable in the brain. So the fact that the body mind can record or represents in a way the experience of love does not mean that it is causing it. It is causing it.
Yeah, see, that's the big argument that I've heard. Well, it's just,
Of causality.
this chemical run through. And yeah,
Right. So, in fact, it's very interesting in relativity, in the relativity experiments, they have found that the wave can be a particle, and particle can be a wave depending on the observer. That when there is an observer, then the wave becomes a particle. And in the absence of the observer, it's a wave. So this whole area of causality is a very interesting question. Now, let's put it this way. The ephemeral, the impermanent, that appears and disappears. There is a reality to that, meaning we can observe in the brain certain functions. Sometimes there is this function in that part of the brain, and then it quiets down, and it's another function arises in different part of the brain. This is the ephemeral, the impermanent, the changing. And then there is the changeless. What is it that is changeless? Is awareness. Consciousness.
And you can't observe anything changing without having a changeless space.
So that's the question. That's the next question is, does the changing causes the changeless, or does the changeless causes the changing? If you want to talk about causality, I don't talk about causality in general because that is mind, in fact, there isn't any causality. But speaking about causality, it's a good question to ask the scientist. Is what is eternal or permanent, like consciousness, is permanent? Awareness is permanent. We've never experienced no awareness. Does the permanent cause the impermanent, or the impermanent causes the permanent? You see, it's a good question. So we can invite your friend, but again, there has to be an interest within your friend to relax their beliefs and to listen with a certain flexibility. Because if there isn't the flexibility, it's difficult to navigate this conversation. First, we need to realize that there is the illusory, meaning the arising, thoughts, sensations, perceptions, perceiving brain waves, perceiving radio waves, perceiving microwaves, etc. There is the phenomenal, and there is the noumenal. And the noumenal is not a thought. The noumenal is not a changing element. Consciousness is not something that is heavier towards the west side of the country and lighter towards the east side of the country. Consciousness is not a better consciousness when you are thinking about it, and a worse consciousness when you are in a war. It has nothing to do with the world, body, mind. This is important to understand that. And to understand that, you have to listen to the Dharma and you have to contemplate the Dharma. You have to contemplate the teaching. To come to a clarity, to absolute clarity, that consciousness is not something phenomenal. That the reality of your experience is not something phenomenal. The reality of your experience is numinal, is completely transparent. It is not something that you can drown, that you can burn, or you can cut with a pair of scissors. Consciousness is, it is the absolute reality of the self, the absolute reality, one reality. There you can call it the reality of the cosmos, the reality of the universe, my reality, the reality. It doesn't matter, it's one reality. Now, does the real create the illusory, or does the illusory create the real? Do you dream your night dreams? Do you create your night dreams? You, the dreamer, or does your night dreams create you, the dreamer? Does the butterfly, the pink flying elephant in your dreams create you, the dreamer, or you, the dreamer, create the pink flying elephant?
That's beautiful.
It's a good question. So if we don't investigate, if we don't study the scriptures and understand the scriptures and contemplate the teachings and keep peeling the onion to come to the understanding, it is very difficult to awaken.
That is very helpful. Thank you.
Okay, Zoe. Love is the reality of the self. At the heart level, consciousness is love, meaning oneness at the heart level. The compassionate heart, the empathy, the tenderness. At the mind level, consciousness is a wisdom, a clarity, and peace. The still mind, the mind that is at the feet of the heart. At the body level, consciousness is the transparency, the borderless body, the cosmic body, the transparent body. At the world level, consciousness is the shining light of beauty and harmony.
Magdi?
Yes. Is it Inga?
Yeah.
Hello, Inga.
Hi.
Hello.
So, if I understand correctly, what you were saying is that without the intellect, it's very difficult to understand these teachings, right?
Well, contemplation uses reasoning. There is a certain aspect of the contemplation that we refer to as the high reasoning, which is the reasoning which is thought that is applied to truth. So yes, then an aspect of the contemplation is the high reasoning, but that's not the entire
teaching.
contemplation. Yes. But yes, there is an aspect of it which is the reasoning. Yes.
So, for instance, someone that is challenged, intellectually challenged, like a person that has Down syndrome. Is it easy for a person like that to understand, to be able to contemplate and find himself or herself as an awareness, as the I am, without functioning 100%?
Yeah, I understand. I would say first, I would like to say that consciousness is magic. God is omnipotent. There is nothing that is impossible to consciousness. Just want to sort of say that there are no obstacles to consciousness. Now, having said that, there are other paths. This is not just, there isn't just the path of jnana, which is the path of contemplation, of reasoning, and of listening to the direct teaching and coming to the direct understanding. There are other paths that are available to us. For example, the path of the heart, which is also a path that is available to us, the path of love and of devotion. And I would say that the path of devotion would be more likely the more appropriate path in this situation. But again, you cannot rule out the omnipotence of consciousness. It's also important to understand that it is not by accident that the teaching, the Dharma, does not come to everybody. It actually, very few, if you look at the 7 billion human beings on this planet, you will find very, very few who have heard of the Dharma, and fewer who have actually been interested in the Dharma, and fewer who have studied the Dharma, and fewer who have meditated and contemplated the Dharma, and even fewer who have the grace of working their understanding with a teacher, with a guide. So it is not by accident that it's like that. It just is like that because that is the design. There is a process of coming to the Dharma. The process first is via the senses. We go externally. We're exploring the world, the body, the mind, relationships, work, situations, power, glory, etc. And that can take many, 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 many lifetimes. And at some point, this energetic outgoing in the world, body, mind, starts to become stale and starts to become irritating. And in time, there is a turning inward. And turning inward is a moment of grace. And when there is this turning inward, then there is the journey, which also can be a journey of many, many lifetimes to come to the enlightenment and then the Vasanic process and eventually to the realization of the self. What matters is that you acknowledge and you recognize the great gift, and to have a deep gratitude that's an offering for everybody, everybody's welfare, of the fact that you are now contemplating the Dharma and diving deeper and deeper into your contemplation, into the understanding of the teaching, into the living of the teaching, into the exploration of the teaching. And that is that precious gift. If it's not recognized, it's like wasting a beautiful jewel onto somebody who throws it into the mud. You have to have the recognition, and then you have to honor the gift that is given to you.
That's very beautiful. Thank you. So this makes me realize that I don't preach, or I don't talk about this with anybody. This is personal, and sometimes I talk about it with my husband. I don't talk about it with my kids, and that makes me sad because I can't share this with them. But I realize that what you just said, that they have, like you've told me before, they're in their own path, and I can't do anything about it. I can't. All I can do is just love them the way in their stage or pathway where they are, and that's all. And
But
just
by taking the Dharma at heart and taking your contemplation at heart and your inquiry at heart, that is the best way you are helping them. Because we are not separate.
right.
And when you are contemplating truth and you are contemplating compassion and living your understanding, we are not separate. We do it on behalf of everybody, and we do it for everybody. Like the sun shines onto the whole.
Mm-hmm.
That is the best way you can help and love your children, and help and love beyond your children, is how you honor the gift that's been given in your life to contemplate the self and to live according to those principles. This is
Right.
so needed. It's like you have a field that you are planting all these seeds, and then the water is so needed. You have to open the water, and you are that. You are the irrigation of the field.
Thank you. But it's nice to be among other flowers, once
Yes,
in a while,
we are.
be
Yes,
together.
Here we are together. It's very beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
And in a way, we are always together. We are together in the heart. We are together in our love of truth. We are together. But in our love of me, no, we are not together. Yes, in our love for me, I love me. Yes. So, but in our love for truth, we are together.
Thank you.
Okay, India, thank you. Nice to talk to you.
Thank you.
Magdi?
Yes, Zoe.
Okay, so that brought up something, what Inga was saying, the whole receptivity thing, though, we're planting seeds, and I go back and forth with that, sort of pulling away from old activities and interactions, because it doesn't seem the receptivity is there. Could you speak about that?
Yes, in your life, it's very important that you follow the path of happiness, the path of joy, the path of beauty, the path of love. It is not a mission, you know. It's when you are living the love, the peace, the happiness. It's naturally radiates. It's naturally it's naturally shared. So in your relationships, you know, you share when there is a sweet sharing, and sometimes you are silent, you know, sometimes that's not that's not a conversation that you really want to be part of, and sometimes you walk away, and so it's you don't know ahead of time, and you don't you don't sort of set it in stone, you know. It's alive, it's dynamic. Having said that, it becomes clear for you that there are certain conversations, certain relationships that, in a way, you know, statistically speaking, you realize that's not where that's not happy for you. That's not where you want to be. That's not, and so you walk past that. You know, it makes sense. It's not. There is no mission to help everybody or anybody. It is via living according to the principles of the universal principles that I am everybody and everybody is myself. We are this one consciousness. The other is just myself in a different form at a different stage in their journey. We're all journeying together in different directions. If you're going to California, you don't want to go from here. You want to go west. But there might be people who want to go to California, but they're heading north. They're your neighbor heading north. You can't reach them, you know. But you know they're going north, and you know they're going the wrong way. Now, are you going to go follow them up north and then tell them, hey, hello, okay, turn around and go back? You have to go in this direction. If you do that, then there's another person that's going south, and another 20 that are going southeast, and another 15 that you you follow what I'm saying? You're only you are only in at the body mind level in relation with whoever you're in relationship with in a relatively close way, and by how you are and what you share and how you live, you are pointing the direction. By how you are, the direction is being pointed. Now, having said that, even the people who are driving south instead of going west, even them, they are being touched. The light of wisdom is touching them. They're realizing, oh, wait a minute, I'm not. I think we're going the wrong direction. This thought will suddenly appear to them. I think we're going the wrong direction. Okay. And where did this thought come from? It's just, there is magic. There is there is the wholeness of consciousness. Consciousness is whole. So do not abide by the thought that at the mind level you can know what is going on. The mind cannot know what is going on. There is infinite other potentials and happenings beyond what the mind is aware of. And you need to trust consciousness, trust the magic.
Thank you.
And you keep in mind two things. First, there has to be an invitation. The invitation can come from somebody being interested in you. You know, what is something about you that interests me. And the invitation can come from within you. Within you, there may be a need, a feeling, not a need, a feeling to share. And so you may share, but you may realize, oh, wow, this is great. This sharing, you know, it's being received. You feel the reception. Or you may feel that, what the heck, what is she talking about? Why doesn't she stop, you know? You sense that, and then you stop.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
Magdi,
Hello, Anne.
I've spoken already, but I loved what you said about that there's no mission, because when I was a Christian, it was always a mission. And it's, you know, it's not about being a good person, as in separate person, separate self. It's more, how it feels now is more like something works through me in spite of the separate person.
Yes.
And I don't have to try to do. In fact, 2 people actually asked me about non-duality, and I never talked to them about it. But in their own way, they asked me, and are now looking into it. One lady, though, is looking into Eckhart Tolle, and I've given her other teachers, yourself included, that I think are more fitting for non-duality, but she's chosen that one. And she's getting a lot of love from that, so that's fine for where she's at.
Yes.
And but again, I love that relief of not having to try and be a good person,
Right.
and save people,
Right.
or get the message to people.
Yes. Yes.
It just happens, and it's
right.
not really anything to do with me. It's consciousness.
Yes. It's not about being a better person. It's just about recognizing what you truly are.
Yeah.
It's an ongoing recognition
Yeah.
of what I am.
Yeah. Great. Thank you.
Okay, Anne. Okay, well, everyone, thank you very much for your lovely time. Yes, thank you, Tal. Just a reminder that the retreat in Costa Rica is October 27 to November 1st. I think on the meetup group, we already posted the site. And so if you are interested to contact us, you can contact us in many ways via meetup, or I think via the Facebook, or by email, etc. So hope to see you during the retreat. Okay, well, namaste, everybody. Thank you very much for your love, your company, and your wonderful sharing. Thank you all. Namaste.
Thank you very much,
Namaste.
Magdi.
Thank you, Magdi.
Beautiful all of you all.